Hello and welcome to a webinar on Corporate Startups 101. My name's Afonso and I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon here. And we're going to be quick, we're going to be energetic, and it's called Corporate Startups 101. Does that mean there's a 102? Yes, there is a 102 or 201, whatever you want to call it. Today we're going to focus on very much what is this corporate startup stuff? Who's doing it? Can it bring revenue? Does it unlock innovation? What are the ground rules for it? And next week, we'll have a webinar on where we're going to focus on the processes. How do you build a corporate startup in 9 to 12 months? What do you do exactly per quarter? First of all, I just want to thank Swiss, EP, and Nina and Anya from Brainstir and the team at Brainstir for setting me up with this webinar. And I hope you're sitting comfortably. Guess what? I'm at home as well. I'm in sunny Brussels, 40th day at home, 39 sunny. It's been amazing weather, and here we are, locked indoors. So let's get started. This is a WhatsApp conversation I had a long time ago with a colleague. Now, you can read it as I'll talk to you a little bit about my background. I went from being a creative to business in the corporate world to then find out that I wanted to create businesses in the entrepreneurial world. Now, the difference between the businesses I create and startups is I do them for corporate companies. So in this dialogue here, you see that what I was talking to was a friend who asked me they needed to sell more beer. This is a beer producer in Belgium, and they wanted to find out how they can do it. And they were asking me questions which are very much about their channel strategy. And I was like, but that's not what I do. I was like, I can help with marketing because my background is also in marketing. But that's not what I do. What I do is I want to explore a corporate venture. What is a corporate venture? Well, I was telling this distributor of beer, well, when their trucks come back empty or with empty crates, that's space to bring weight. That's where you can have an excess opportunity and you can create a whole new business. Furthermore, these trucks are refrigerated. They can bring ice cream, they can bring horrible stuff as you can see in the text there, but you have an additional business to your business. This is not the core function of a marketing team. Well, this is really not the core function of any team apart from a corporate venturing mergers and acquisitions team if they have it. And so why not find new revenue with assets you own which are declining or emerging or that you can monetize in different ways? With corporate venturing, you're always looking for new ideas that your clients are going to love. And you're also looking for how can you use the synergies of what they have today and that you're able to use that strength of their synergies to bring innovation in-house and help them build their own corporate startup from the ground up with their people, not your people, the people internally at the corporate company. I think of this as the rocket to revenue for true innovation. And it's good for business at the end of the day. Okay? So just to kind of set the scene, this is the way I look at corporate startups. We're creating a startup inside the company. It looks a little bit something like this. You are given license to build a startup at the company. I'll focus on this a little bit later on, but I believe that you should create startups inside the corporate company, not go away, because you want to bring innovation from within. Will you move slower than if you did it elsewhere? Perhaps. But in one room in that building, you want to have a small team of people who are building a rocket. And you want to constantly have charts that's saying, everything's okay. We're going to make a ton of money out of this. Is it true? We don't know yet. But we want to secure the business that we're going to find solutions, new business models for the company with this corporate startup. So you feel like the cool kids in town in a room, but you got to play the corporate game a little bit. This is not a pure startup. So it's important that we understand that there are things that the corporate startup really has access to. CapEx, OpEx, the brand and all its glory and power when it comes to the message, the bravado, the clientele, the belief in what it is, its customers, and its assets. And customers is key because I also worked in a startup, and that is by far the most difficult thing to have. Now, what corporates do not have, that you often have in a startup, is skills and speed. And you will be held with legal and IT issues, politics, and stakeholder management that needs to be a constant throughout the build of your corporate startup. The rest of it is very much the same way as you build a startup, is stick and carrot. Today you have a stick, no carrot, no one cares. Today you have a carrot, you don't have a stick as a channel strategy to get to the customer. That is going to be the same approach to innovation and development. It's agile, it's iterative, it goes back and forth, validation after validation, until you're able to convert revenue. But don't forget, you already have customers normally. So that is a very big advantage. And that's why I believe corporate startups are a rocket to revenue and true innovation. And I want to break this down between revenue and true innovation. On the revenue front, there is, when you think of corporate companies, you think that the goal of innovation to them could be to find new revenue generating business models outside of current activities that beat time to market. What am I talking about here is like, okay, for us, we're a corporate company, we want to have innovation programs that find new markets out there. There is also the other train of thought within corporates that say the goal of innovation is to explore and identify what new technologies should we be using revenue driven. I believe in corporate startups for the purpose of finding new business models for revenue. Will they be the latest and greatest in tech? Perhaps not, but you can't afford to do that. So what I believe in is you have today, especially with the times we're living today, an opportunity to help. I collaborated with Bundle, which is a corporate venture building firm, and that's me on the left, and the four individuals in this picture are successful entrepreneurs here in Belgium. They work for different sectors, different industries, and I interviewed the four of them to understand, is it for revenue or is it not? And if you watch this, the link is on the bottom, or I can post it later here as well. It's a long video, but you see that amongst this group, there is an entrepreneur more inclined to revenue, and there is an entrepreneur more inclined to innovation. If it's interesting to you, please watch it. You might find that you want to be part of creating corporate startups. I also surveyed more than corporate brands with these innovation triggers in front of them. I'm asking corporate brands, and I did this alongside the ICT hub in Belgrade, Serbia, of understanding which of these triggers would you choose if you were going to venture into corporate startups. And 36 out of 40 chose these four. Now, if we read it from left to right, reinvent our business model, boost growth, boost our brand image, increase sales, that's at least 3 out of 4 revenue-driving reasons. So that's why I believe corporate venturing is a vehicle to revenue. But now, how is it a vehicle and a rocket to innovation? With innovation managers out there, with great tech to learn, that we need to learn and adopt out there, how do we do it? Well, I believe that true innovation comes from disrupting from the inside out. And that's focusing again on what I said earlier. We're going to bring corporate startups into the corporate environment. Yes, you will come across politics, but you will, at the end of the day, be in the right place to have your innovation agenda move the CEO's innovation agenda for being inside. What I mean is, most CEOs will mention in their annual report the word innovation. Now, if you have a program which is being done indoors and not an external investment, you are bringing that innovation into the home. And that's extremely important because it helps them understand that whatever is built as a corporate startup has a business link. It has an alliance and a relationship with some strategic pillar happening inside the company. You want to move into distribution, you want to perfect your supply chain, you have declining assets. It's born with a business link. It breathes the DNA. Yes, I am a venture builder and I go into corporates as an entrepreneur in residence to build startups. But you require people internally to be there for you. You will bring external expertise, that's for sure. The skills are not there yet. But internally, you will learn how it ticks, how it works, and you're building something that already has synergies and lives at the same stage gates of the company. What I mean is, corporate companies work in quarters, and thus you will work in quarters. That's not necessarily true for all startups when you're building a startup. And it's ignited by their people. So what's not to love from an HR perspective than giving the company and those employees new skills where they can become T-shaped employees, from being an I to a T. Is it hard to get people on board in Ask HR? We'll focus on that in a minute. Yes, it is, but we'll talk about it. So you're disrupting from the inside out, but can you disrupt everything? Well, in the top, this is what you can disrupt. You can disrupt the business models. You can bring in new technologies, of course, innovation frameworks, and the way of working. It can be agile or not, more or less religious on how you want to work agile. You can disrupt all of that. You can optimize our assets. You can create new acquisition strategies and use new acquisition channels if their marketing permits you to. Again, the T-shaped skill sets, more skill sets for their employees. And you can even influence HR hiring practices. I've done it before. But there are things which are no-goes, that lives below the surface. You cannot hurt in any shape or form the corporate brand. You are tied to that, and that can be a hurdle. You have a legal obligation to the current customers and to the brand, so you have to be careful what messages you put out there. And you cannot cannibalize any current commercial offerings or current customer base. I've seen the latter happen in another company that launched a startup, which I'm not allowed to disclose, so don't put that under questions, please, that they launched a product, but then voila, it was cannibalizing their current offer. And so with this beautiful thing, you're in a room with people, you have this beautiful corporate startup you want to build, and next week we'll focus on what happens in the first 3 months, the second 3 months, the third 3 months, etc. Comes the Hairball. The Hairball is the corporate company, and there's this book which is Orbiting the Giant Hairball by Gordon MacKenzie. This is how you orbit the corporate company. This is how you brush the hair of the hairball, but you do not get into the hairball, because otherwise you will not be able to fulfill your goals on your corporate startup in an agile way, if that is, and be quick to be time to market. There are 3 main hairballs we will always encounter with corporate startups. IT. You cannot start a corporate startup if you're told that you need to wait for a license that sits with procurement and they will sign it off, and it needs to be, you need all the emails of the people. You cannot do that. You need to be quick enough to have a IT stack that works for you. We know there's plenty of platforms out there, but they might not be the ones that the corporate company is using. So be careful, use it in a contained manner, but make sure your team is ready to work. Make legal your CMO. You will not need marketing teams to build your startup from the get-go. They need to be busy in the core business and the channel strategies and great things that they need to achieve. But legal is the one who will say yes or no to everything you want to put out there from a communications perspective. Always check with legal. Know someone from the legal department who is on board that you can check in with. And HR, as I focused earlier, you're going to have to convince HR to look at new profiles or to look at the potential of their employees having new profiles. But one thing they don't have is intrapreneurs. So when you go in to build a corporate startup, you might not be enough being alone. You might need to convince HR to bring a couple more people that will teach their local teams, their in-the-ground company teams, other skills that they can move into a more T-shaped skilled employee. All beautiful, all great. I love what I do. After 16 years of corporate world, moved into an entrepreneurial startup life to then realize I want to create businesses for corporates because this is what I love. Innovation frameworks applied to startups. But if you Google annual reports on innovation, you have a lot of results. 80 million results is pretty good. If you Google corporate venture and innovation, 1.1 million results. And if you go to annual report plus corporate venture, 113,000 results. There's not a lot. Is that bad? No, I can tell you today that there is enough demand for clients to find new business models. But does that mean we have a business model in terms of venture builders and corporate startups which is oiled and scalable? No, we're also learning how to do this best. And there's a delta which we would love to close because we feel there's a way to bring new business models. The way things work today is there is an intrapreneur, someone assigned from the corporate company as your ambassador, who embraces the company's innovation agenda, who has access to decision makers or can make decisions, and who will actively play a part in the vision of this corporate venture. And then there's a venture builder, entrepreneurs, who understand how the corporate ticks, can go in with or without a team and be able to build this as if they were building their own startup, with, of course, the advantages of having customers, brand, and the disadvantages of having politics and a few stage gates in the way. If you want to learn more about Intrapreneurs, I've interviewed over 20 entrepreneurs, which you can find on this channel on the bottom link there, another one we can share. And you can find out that entrepreneurs, they own the stage gate of what you're doing. They will say, go, no, go. But they also do all the stakeholder manager. They are able to license the capital that you need for CapEx, OpEx for the venture. They will co-own workshops. They will sign off the business case and improve and move the innovation agenda. Well, the venture builder, there are people who actually either worked in design, business, marketing, but that have an entrepreneurial experience and that can come in with innovation frameworks and be able to do everything you need to do to understand who are the players out there, what is our technology, can we roll it out, do we have the development needs, we need to create a value proposition, we need to validate it, create the business. Today, the business is relying on this symbiosis. Is it going to be like that forever? As I said, no, there's a delta. It might change. You might see more venture builders and entrepreneurs in residence appear in the future. You might see more intrapreneurs appear as well in the future. And some with for-profit, some for innovation, and others even for social innovation. You think corporate startups are not everywhere? Well, here's just a slide of many companies that we all know who are doing corporate startups. Why are they different? They are changing their business models. They are not tied totally to the core of what those companies are doing today. Are they 100 miles away? No. But they are away from their current business model. They are bringing new revenue. They are bets that these companies are making with their employees, with their capital, to find out new business models that can work for them and advance the innovation agenda. Find new ways that they can do business with different solutions. With that in mind, the question is over to you. Is this for you? You might be an entrepreneur out there and you might love the startup world, and I think that's fantastic. I enjoyed it very much too. But I had a calling after 16 years of corporate life to do this for corporate startups. If you're out there looking for something that you want to do in the corporate world and you want to change the way corporate companies are doing, that's great. If you're a corporate employee and you just feel, I want to do something different, maybe it's time that you embrace the innovation agenda of your company and bring other people in that can help you to propose that you'll find new business models in your company. Questions for you? I will move to my thank you and last slide. And at the moment, so I can't see you, I can only see my full screen. So I'm going to go into this link where we are having and see if there's any questions I can answer, sorry. I see no questions. I will write any questions here. Hello, 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 hello. If there are no questions today, what we will be focusing next week is what happens again per quarter in building a corporate startup. I'm using rule of thumbs of my experience to find out what processes, tools, frameworks are applied, and also how does it feel? I think that's a very important aspect that we should focus on building corporate startups, because you are not doing something which is core to the business. You are costing the business money. You owe them a corporate venture you have promised. So that's also a very exciting moment. It's something that takes a while, and so venture builders are normally allocated on a project of 6 to 12 months building, and that's what I'm currently doing, and I love it very much, and I hope I could actually just share those skills with you. I will wait for a few seconds to see if there's any questions. Otherwise, I'd love to thank you for being here with me today. And I just saw my full screen, so I didn't see you or me in the small screen. So look forward to seeing you again in the next webinar if there aren't any questions. Okay, well, this is my name. You can find me on LinkedIn if you have any further questions, or please do ask Brankster or Swiss EP, who I thank again for having me here today, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. Look forward to seeing you in a week from now. I try to keep these short so we can all make the most of our times. We spend a lot of time on screen, and hopefully this will just get you fueled to maybe tackling some corporate companies and proposing your ideas. Thank you. Hello? Oh, there is a question. Sorry, no, but I don't know if people can still be on the phone. I cannot see the question.